Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call to order the Arvada City Council business meeting for January 27th. Councilmember Davis, if you will honor us with a moment of silence and the pledge.
Yes, please join us in a moment of silent reflection. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Rush, if you'll do the roll call.
Mayor Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Marriott.
Here.
Councilmember Rupert.
Here.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes for January 6, 2025. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, those stand approved. Next on this evening's agenda, we have the discussion and action for the potential sale of 4905 West 60th Avenue. I'll begin with Ms. Haley to introduce this item.
Good evening, City Council. We understand that you all want to have discussion regarding the sale of the property of 4905 West 60th Avenue, and we are here to listen to any thoughts you may have, but receive direction from you as well.
Okay. So to more or less introduce this item, I know we have many interested members of the community here this evening. This item has been something that the council has been considering, notably because as we work through this process, we do take into neighborhood feedback. We take it very, very seriously. Community feedback is central to how we operate here in Arvada. So listening to the community is really important to us. And I know in public comment, we are not allowed to respond. But yes, we really are listening and we are paying attention. So with this, we heard many wonderful ideas come from the community about what they need, what they want to see. And we want to be able to address that by selling the building, which is an option for us we're going to talk about up here this evening. We would be able to restore fund balances back to the city. That's your money, our taxpayers' dollars. We want to be able to restore those fund balances to the city so that we can direct them towards worthy services that are already happening. And we also want to make sure that we are following the appropriate community direction as we enter into the community conversation over this next year, talking about this issue, what Arvada needs. We don't want something looming over the conversation. We want to be able to have that open, transparent conversation and not have it feel like it has a predetermined outcome attached to it. So with that, I open it to council for thoughts, any questions, and just overall discussion. Councilmember Marriott.
Yeah, I'll start off. I just want to make some observations and some thoughts about this as an action item. So, as most of you know, I was the only one who voted no to purchase this property. I think it was potentially an interesting opportunity, but I think there's a couple big problems with as is. One, that the council had things a bit out of order when we talk about, an approach to solving a problem. The way it should work is us as the council should set a goal for the city team to achieve, and the city team then should come to us with a plan of action of how to achieve this goal, and then come to us with tools needed or what they might see as assets that they need to accomplish the goal. In this particular case, I'm not sure we followed that process rigorously enough and kind of ended up with a tool on our hands before we had both a clear goal and a clear plan of action and a clear set of needs of assets to be able to achieve these goals. So I think from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense that as we continue this community conversation around the homeless and the homeless impact in our community and what our role in that may be and what abilities we have to do that we're careful about that. Now, the other part of this is a building like this can be a lot of things that can be very, very positive, and I think it's highly appropriate that the market dictates what happens here within the constraints of what city's role actually is, which is our land use and our zoning code. And I think taking this action of putting this building up for sale puts that stuff in the right place. I think it's a great asset. I think there's potentially a lot of users for it, and potentially a lot of users that will bring great value to our community. And I see it as a very, very positive thing. And so for those reasons, I'm all for this action, and my desire would be that the city does list this for sale and see if we can't have this asset go out into the market to do great things for our community.
Are there additional thoughts, questions? Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes, I'm also in favor of selling this building, and I would urge the city team to make sure that we have a robust community engagement process about the issue of homelessness. I think about other major citywide initiatives that we have done, in like the central hauling program and bring recycling, and the sustainability action plan has like years of engagement with the community about possible solutions. And so just making sure that we have that space for dialogue with the community so that we aren't out of step with what would work for residents and what Arvadans mean when they fill out surveys and say, we want you to work on homelessness. Like, what does that exactly mean? Because there's lots of different people that end up homeless for lots of different reasons. And when people are filling out those surveys, they could be thinking of any one of those reasons. And so I appreciate the community coming together for what it needs, and look forward to working with them within the constraints that I can as a city council member to make sure that this building does serve a higher and better purpose for Arvada.
Okay. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I too support it. I mean, the intent was well, and trying to figure out what we could do with land banking. It's not uncommon that we do that. I do agree with Councilmember Ambrose and Marriott that more engagement at the end of the day. We need to do something. It just may not be what it is today. And so I think when we get to the point of that community engagement at a different level, I mean, we still have a draft plan. We should probably get that strategic plan finalized and then go from there. So this is a journey with the community at large. It's not just, I see most of you are from the eastern part of the city, but this is an at-large conversation that impacts the entire community and who our character is around this subject. And so look forward to those engagements, and I hope to participate in them as well.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day as a nation, and there was a quote that came to my mind. The rich nations must use their vast resources of wealth to develop the underdeveloped, school the unschooled, and feed the unfed. Ultimately, a great nation is a compassionate nation. No individual or nation can be great if it does not have a concern for the least of these. I believe we as a community are a compassionate community, and we listen to the neighborhood. And so after listening, I support the sale tonight of this property. But my hope is that we use these resources to help the unhoused residents in our community. Our draft homeless plan that Councilman Pfeiffer just mentioned reports that on average, it is estimated around 200 individuals go unsheltered in Arvada on any given night. That is just unacceptable to me. And so our decision tonight to sell this property is by no means an indication that we are giving up on finding a site for a navigation center. And I am committed to working on that with our regional partners and to find the right location to build a 24 emergency shelter that we so badly need.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Well, we learned a lot of lessons here, and thank you for teaching us those lessons. We definitely need to improve our public engagement, and with the community's input and all of the community, this is an at-large issue, and as an at-large representative, I recognize that. But I am absolutely optimistic that we will come up with a plan, we will develop something that will meet the needs of our unhoused community and those who are on the verge of becoming unhoused, so that we make sure that that does not happen, especially in a community like Arvada, where we are compassionate and we do think of our neighbors. So thank you to Arlington Meadows and to city staff. This has been very much a learning curve for me, and I'm here for it.
Councilmember Rupert.
Thank you. I think this is a healthy reset. It's a healthy reset for the property. It's a healthy reset for our approach to those experiencing homelessness. And actually, I think it's a healthy reset for a neighborhood who is now fully engaged and clearly identifies with the city they're a part of, and so happy that that has happened. So welcome.
It's an excellent point, Councilmember Rupert. If there is a silver lining that came out of any of this, it is that Arlington Meadows has forged an identity that perhaps was kind of there before, but wasn't fully present. You know, we have different neighborhoods around this city, and some sort of have a more strong identity, some are a little more loose. And I would say, at least from an outsider looking into your neighborhood, that it looks like you have forged an incredible new neighborhood identity, friendships with one another. You probably, I'm guessing, know each other a lot better now, and your community will be so much stronger now for this. I know it probably wasn't the way you want to go through it. It certainly wasn't our intention to make that happen, but I am very, very glad if there is a silver lining to any of this. It is the bonds of friendship formed in this neighborhood at this time and the identity that's emerged from it. This is not a retreat from the issue itself. We need solutions, and this is a difficult issue. This is one that if there was a magic solution, other cities would have found it by now. We are all sort of grappling with imperfect solutions together to try and solve an incredibly complex problem that we all care very passionately about, I think, but we may disagree sometimes on how we get there. But by talking to each other, listening to each other, that's how we move forward. That's how we find better solutions, and we make progress. We never solve everything, but we make progress, and we do the right thing. So with that, we might need a motion to actually put this up for sale. Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes, I would like to move that the City of Arvada put up for sale the property located at 4905 West 60th Avenue.
All votes are cast. That passes 7-0. Ms. Haley, your team may move forward with listing the building officially. All right. With that, we now have public comment on issues not scheduled on the agenda for this evening. This is the 3-minute limit, and I have my forms here. The first speaker is going to be Karen Deo-Widow. Did I get it close to right this time?
Yes.
Yes. I've been working on it for weeks. Thank you.
I'm always happy to give lessons, so.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. I would like to first express my gratitude to the city for your collective decision to sell the ECA building. This marks an important step in acknowledging the validity of the concerns our community has raised regarding engagement and fair and kind treatment of our neighbors, and I sincerely appreciate the effort that has gone into hearing our voices. Your willingness to reconsider the use of this building and move in a different direction has not gone unnoticed, and I genuinely thank you for your responsiveness and understanding. While this is a significant milestone, our work together is far from over. As we move forward with the sale of the ECA building, I urge the city to remain committed to transparency and active engagement with the community. Though it is unfortunate that the city was unable to use this building as an investment in the East Arvada community, I'm grateful that you listened to our concerns about its potential use as a homeless navigation center and the financial impact this project would have on all of Arvada. Moving forward, I encourage the city to exercise equal care and deliberation in deciding whom the building is sold to. Weigh all aspects of the potential buyer's plans and ensure their vision aligns with the best interests of Arvada and its residents, especially those of us in close proximity to the ECA. I ask that you carefully consider potential buyers and the intended use of the property to ensure that it aligns with the long-term health, safety, and prosperity of the surrounding neighborhoods. Protecting our community must remain your top priority. The decisions made regarding the ECA building will have a lasting impact on East Arvada, and it is crucial that we all work together to ensure that this process reflects our shared priorities and values so that we may uplift and strengthen East Arvada rather than detract from it. I urge the city to utilize a portion of the proceeds of the sale as an investment in our long-neglected community. Improvements of infrastructure, roads, widening of sidewalks, and additional community resources, especially related to childcare and recreation, are desperately lacking in East Arvada. Finally, I also request that the City Council realign, recenter, and establish clear and actionable plans before investing millions of taxpayer dollars into future projects, no matter what the intent is. Addressing community needs requires clarity, cohesion, and a plan that incorporates the input of all stakeholders. Without a unified strategy, it becomes far more challenging to enact sustainable and effective solutions that serve all Arvadans. Thank you again for taking this step and for committing to engage with our community. Together, we can ensure that the ECA building benefits everyone involved and paves the way for the brighter future for all of Arvada. I look forward to our continued engagement and will continue to serve my neighborhood and broader community through leadership, engagement, and most importantly, kindness and empathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lily Alish.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to thank you all for your thoughtful and consideration. You've invested a lot of your time and energy into this process, and I want to acknowledge the careful consideration you've given to the community's needs throughout this process. Councilmember Pfeiffer, I want to especially thank you for your honest communication. You asked us to trust you, and though that trust was tested at times, your commitment to doing what's best for everyone, whether that's the transient individuals, displaced families, or neighbors of Arlington Meadows, it has been clear, and I truly appreciate your leadership in navigating this complex situation. So thank you. Councilmember Marriott, although you opposed the purchase of this building for valid reasons in the beginning, you have remained a strong advocate for our community. Your consistency and dedication to thoughtful decision-making have not gone unnoticed, and I thank you for continuing to represent us in the city of Arvada with integrity. Councilmember Davis, your open-mindedness and willingness to explore different perspectives has been inspiring. You've shown genuine commitment to understanding the diverse challenges that Arvada residents make, and I've learned so much from your thoughtful approach. Thank you. Councilmember Ambrose, I appreciate your leadership in District 2 and your thoughtful consideration of how the decision impacts our area. I look forward to engaging with you as we navigate the next steps for our district. And to the rest of you, thank you again for voting on this decision. It has been great getting to know you, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. Now that it's been voted on, I respectfully ask you all to maintain a robust, transparent, and inclusive process moving forward. The decision is about more than just selling a property. It's about ensuring that the next chapter for this site aligns with the values of the entire Arvada community. I'd like to specifically ask for an extensive timeline that's detailed of the next phases with clear milestones and ensures adequate time for community engagement and oversight. I'd like to request regular updates as well. If you tell us, we will share it. I'd also request that potential buyers provide detailed plans that demonstrate how their projects align with the needs and priorities of the neighborhood, if possible. And if you do plan on having some sort of organization with the neighborhood, I will gladly volunteer my time to help be a voice for Arlington Meadows. I understand the challenges you face in making this decision, but I believe this moment is an opportunity to set a standard for thoughtful community-first planning. By committing to transparent communication and inclusive planning process, the council can build trust once again and ensure the project reflects the needs of everyone. Thank you for your service to our city and for listening to us tonight and over the last few months.
Thank you. Monique Lonnie?
Hello again. Monique Lonnie, Arlington Meadows. I want to begin by thanking the city for making the decision to sell the ECA building. This is an important step, and I truly appreciate that you've taken time to listen to the concerns of our community. For a long time, many of us in East Arvada have felt our voices were overlooked, but this decision shows that the city is starting to hear us, and that's something I'm very grateful for. It's a relief to know that the concerns of local residents matter and that the city is willing to change course when needed. Now, while this is a positive change, there's still a lot of work ahead of us. The sale of this building is just the beginning, and it's vital that we make sure it's handled carefully. The city needs to be thoughtful about who buys the property and what they plan to do with it. It's not just about getting the best deal for the city, but also about what's best for the people who live here in our community. East Arvada needs development that benefits everyone, not just a select few. We deserve to see improvements that make our neighborhood a safer, better place for our families and neighbors. As we move forward with this process, please listen and involve the community. This is a decision that will affect the future of East Arvada for years to come, and it's so important that we get it right. I ask that you carefully review potential buyers and make sure their plans align with the best interest of the people who live here. Whoever purchases the property should be someone who is committed to helping our community grow in a positive way. Another thing I'd like to bring up is the need to invest in the community. We've been asking for better roads, sidewalks, and more resources for families, and this is a great opportunity to address those needs. I hope that the sale of ECA building can facilitate the improvement of infrastructure and create more resources like park improvements, community centers that will help families and community centers that will help families and children. East Arvada has been overlooked for far too long, and it's time some real improvements that benefit us all. Finally, as we look ahead, I urge the city to make sure future projects are well planned and thought out. It's important that we don't rush into things and that we make sure everyone in the community has a voice in the process. We all want what's best for Arvada, but to make that happen, we need to be sure that every decision is made carefully and with the input of everyone who will be affected. Thank you again for your decision to sell the ECA building and for taking time to hear our concerns. I'm hopeful that by working together, we can make East Arvada a better place for all of us. I look forward to continuing this conversation and making sure that the changes we see in our neighborhood are ones we can all be proud of.
Thank you. Next, we have Ted Little.
Hello, and thank you for your time and listening this evening. I am Ted Lytle. I'm from the Lake Arbor neighborhood, and I'm speaking on, I'm putting out a plea to have the city protect our undocumented immigrants in our community. And I would like to preface my message to the council by saying that it is a false narrative to suggest that the majority or all of undocumented immigrants are criminals and drug dealers. My experience with the undocumented immigrants in our community has been quite the opposite. These are hardworking people who have been forced from their homeland in search of a better life for their families. Many have fled violence, poverty, and in some cases, genocide for a better opportunity here in America. They are a very proud people striving for a better future for their families in a community they can feel safe and feel free from corruption and violence. They are peaceful and law-abiding, as they understand the threat of deportation and would not risk all they have worked hard for to accomplish and work towards becoming a recognized citizen within a broken immigration system by engaging in criminal activity. They wouldn't do that. According to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy, in 2022, undocumented immigrants paid $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes. Most of that amount, $59.4 billion, was paid to federal government, while the remaining $37.3 billion was paid to state and local governments. But more than a third of the tax dollars paid by undocumented immigrants go toward payroll taxes dedicated to funding programs that these workers are banned from accessing themselves. Undocumented immigrants paid $25.7 billion in Social Security taxes, $6.4 billion in Medicare taxes, and $1.8 billion in unemployment insurance taxes in 2022. I've seen news reports in the last 48 hours that ICE agents have said they would conduct raids in search of undocumented criminals. They will also take into custody other undocumented immigrants not on their list, as they find them to be collateral damage. My plea to you is to recognize the very valuable contributions the majority of immigrants provide to our community. They are participating in the betterment of everyone in our city.
Sir, I apologize, your time has expired. I'll give you a couple seconds to wrap your thoughts, though.
Please don't spend any tax dollars or resources participating in aiding ICE officers as they conduct searches and raids in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nancy Mao.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak this evening and let me say my piece. 15 months ago, my husband and I were in Berlin. I, being the clumsy giraffe I am, have to watch where I'm going and every step I take. In doing so, I look down at the ground while being a tourist in Berlin and start noticing little brass squares everywhere, randomly. 1 here, 2 there, 5 there. I had no idea what they were. My husband, the history buff, tells me, oh, those are markers where people disappeared. By disappeared, deported, vanished, murdered, in front of homes where there had been families. This is marked the last place where they were seen in public. These are hand-chiseled memorials to these individuals with their names, their birth dates, their date of death, and sometimes the location. These are known as stumbling stones. These people who vanished in the blink of an eye were Jews, gypsies, disabled people, LGBTQ people, anyone who was a victim of persistent, deliberate, widespread propaganda that made them the other, made them less than. They were referred to as vermin, actually, and we've heard this kind of language here in this country recently. On this Holocaust Remembrance Day, I think we need to do more than remember it. I think we need to rededicate ourselves to fighting autocracies that value one type of person over another. We have one chance to get this right, and this is the time.
Thank you. Next, we have Bruce Morrison.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Bruce Morrison, 6521 West 69th Way. I live in the eastern part of Arvada. I wasn't going to talk about housing, but I just want to make one comment. I'm glad that the Arlington Meadow has organized, and I hope that they get the infrastructure services they believe they need and have needed for some time. But I do have to say that we've been messing with homeless for a long time, and we keep going backwards. And the homeless aren't going away, and it seems like the city is going backwards, and that's very disappointing. What I came here to talk about was one of the greatest challenges that we have faced in Arvada for security since the Klan was active and having marches of over 10,000 people and attacking St. Anne's Church and with the current hatred toward immigrants. Once again, the wealthy have convinced many descendants of immigrants that their problems are caused by current immigrants, when in fact the problems of both groups are caused by the wealthy. The same wealthy elite that is the major cause of unacceptable conditions immigrants are leaving also causes U.S. wages to stagnate and our institutions to be underfunded. The ancestors of the descendants of immigrants were also discriminated against, lied about, and used as scapegoats and called vermin. I guess my point is that the descendants of immigrants and immigrants need to work together to build our country, and they have a lot of common interests. The current wave of xenophobia has taken over our federal government. It will not stop with immigrants. They will attack anyone that disagrees with their political agenda. And I guess I want to join other voices that will be raised today to ask you to have a plan to deal with the immigrants and to make sure that the police department understands the rules and that they are not to cooperate with ICE. I also would like to urge you to have some plans in place for political violence that could target anybody. And I want to assure you that the people of Arvada do not want immigrants torn away from our community, that they are valuable members of our community, friends, and neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Malone.
Good evening, Mayor Simpson and council members. My name is Pat Malone. I live at 6273 Kilmer Loop in Arvada. This is my third time before you to talk about my concern for the immigrants who live, work, raise families, own businesses, and pay taxes in Arvada. In addition to meeting with a few of you separately, I wrote to Chief Brady and his public information officer, Chase Amos. Mr. Amos pointed me to a place on the Arvada Police Department's website that detailed exactly what we hoped to see about the department's policies regarding immigration. This is very specifically detailed in an FAQ. Given that our Jeffco Sheriff's Department is complying with ICE, I'm relieved, grateful, and impressed with the very clear wording in these FAQs. I know you don't respond to questions in this forum, but I'd like to suggest that there are things the city can be doing both to protect immigrants who live here and to let them know you are proactively finding ways to support them during this treacherous time. One of the best defenses immigrants have is knowing their rights. There are immigrant-focused organizations, faith organizations, schools, and others who are either hosting in-person Know Your Rights trainings or hosting Know Your Rights webinars. This is a positive thing the city of Arvada could be doing. Over the weekend, I sent each of you Edgewater Collective's statement called Shared Commitment to Safe and Welcoming Jefferson County Communities. It's been signed by several supporting organizations and also by many supporting elected officials. These Jefferson County officials include various city council members, Colorado state representatives and senators, county commissioners, and others. It takes courage to put your name to a document, but it shows constituents where they stand in your estimation. In closing, I'm asking each of you who personally understands the value immigrants bring to our community and who cares about their well-being when they are being targeted will put your name to this statement of support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Audrey Small Canyon.
Just one moment. Thank you, Mayor Simpson and council members. My name is Audrey Small Canyon. I live and work in the Arvada community. I am a Colorado native. My family has lived in Colorado for 5 generations. I went to Peck and Russell Elementary, Arvada Junior High, graduated from Arvada High School. My purpose today is to request a safe place or space where our immigrant community is to access their rights in the preferred language, receive support to create a family emergency plan, receive legal resources. By providing these resources and support for our immigrant community who graciously contributes to our Arvada economy, we are building a stronger, resilient, welcoming community for every Arvadan. I know the city of Arvada is committed to serving all residents, regardless of their immigration status. I am willing to lead, help, support this request in any way. As I close, I leave you with these 2 quotes. The greatness of a community is the most accurately measured by compassionate actions of its members. Coretta Scott King. And alone, we can do little. Together, we can do much. Helen Keller. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Lauren Rapp.
Good evening, Mayor Simpson and City Council members. My name is Lauren, and I live at 6046 Brain Street. I would agree that a silver lining as of recently for Arlington Meadows is that we've really built a strong community, and I'm grateful that we acknowledge that tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to address you and express my support for the sale of the Early College of Arvada property at 4905 West 60th Avenue. This decision reflects fiscal responsibility and acknowledges the importance of laying the groundwork for meaningful community investment and engagement. By returning valuable funds to the city's budget, you have an opportunity to reprioritize strategic initiatives that engage and benefit East Arvada. We're eager to see and feel investments that shape a brighter future for our community's prosperity, safety, and sustainability. Additionally, the sale of this property opens the door for development that can reinvigorate the area, strengthening our neighborhood, and contributing to the local economy. It's a move that benefits both residents and businesses while laying the groundwork for long-term growth and success. Thank you for your leadership and for making choices that reflect the best interest of our city and its taxpayers. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have Renee Cornell.
Good evening. Hearing impaired. I hope that was my name you called. It'd be kind of embarrassing. Anyway, I wanted to thank you. I respect you, and I just think all of you have done a great decision. And I hope to have a speech tonight or something, but I was at the hospital with my husband. He fell on ice, so here I am to thank you was my thing. But I really feel like this is like a 3-step, the building being sold, the buyer communicating, and I ask that if you do decide on an apartment complex, please don't go more than 3 stories high. I know Westwoods is doing something with this, Bob, with apartment and townhomes over there on Easley, and we have a great mountain view, and I'd hate to see apartments so high that it blocks it. I wouldn't want Arvada to be known as apartment city. I'd like it a beautiful view of the mountains. And again, I'm just here to thank you for everything you've done and the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope your husband's okay. Next, we have Ricky Johnson. Oh. No worries, sir. Next, we have Dan Bradley.
I'm Dan Bradley, 8047 Field Court. I want to thank all of you for voting on the building the way you did. And hopefully we can use those funds in a more useful manner. My primary subject tonight is going to be about mental illness. I've consulted with several social workers and law enforcement individuals throughout the community. They always have one thing in common, that mental illness is really the primary problem with the majority of homelessness. It's also something I think that we can work on together. You can't do it in one way, but in multiple ways. But right now, if someone has a mental problem and they're arrested, typically the judge will sentence that person to 6 months in jail or whatever their sentence is, where they'll sit in a cage for 6 months and leave and reoffend doing the same thing over and over again. We didn't fix anything. I would like to suggest that we focus more on the real problem, which is mental illness, and less on all these other places where we continue to spend money, and I'm talking about billions of dollars, either buying tents or building buildings and multiple other fund programs that are available. Let's focus on the real problem. It's called mental illness. That's where we need to be focusing at every level that we can possibly consider. Even at young ages, teenagers run away from home. That's because they have a dysfunctional family where probably everybody in it is mentally ill. And we need to get those individuals some help and help them get away from this family tradition of being mentally ill and causing problems in the community for the rest of their life. So I sincerely request that every time you're making a decision regarding homeless people or what you think should be done, that you take that into consideration, how you could spend your money the best way you possibly can to help these people for the long term, not the short term. And we all know the definition of an idiot. So I would like to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sebastian Gunther.
Hello, my name is Sebastian. I live at 10155 Ridge Road. I was here with my group last month to talk about the importance of protecting our local foreign population, and I'm sad to report that their safety is now more tenuous than it was even a week ago. President Donald Trump has signed executive order after executive order with blurring speed in an attempt to strip back legal protections for residents of your city. In particular, he has signed an executive order meant to repeal the birthright citizenship of millions of U.S. citizens afforded to them through the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's heartening to see Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser join the 20 or so other states suing to block these flagrantly unconstitutional acts. It gives me hope that this state may be saved from the worst this administration has to offer. The quickness of action and rightness of these lawsuits is clearly impressive, and I hope this council can follow suit with your own action. We together seek the further protection of Arvadan residents through local and city policy. We urge you to create and publicize a written policy designed to shield our immigrant population and to forbid any local police resources from being used for illegal federal ICE raids on our city. All across the country, people are being actively ripped from their homes and their families. We do not want to see this kind of violence enacted in our home, nor carried out by our neighbors. In addition, I urge you to resist the insidious language game being played out on the national stage right now. Donald Trump and his ilk are attempting to liken this surge of immigration to a foreign invasion. Do not accept this. This frames immigrants, many of whom are fleeing war and violence themselves, as wartime combatants. This will lead to many more human rights abuses. This dehumanizing language is used to stoke the flames of racist vitriol in the highest levels of our government and to cut through legal protections for those of us who are most vulnerable. Please resist this plainly ridiculous rhetoric. These are people, not soldiers. On a somewhat more personal note, some in my own family are afforded their citizenship through the 14th Amendment and other such national laws. Back in the 60s, my grandmother Faye adopted children from all over the world, and she raised a beautiful and loving family with them. Many of them are now in danger of deportation. These are American citizens that have been living and working in this country for over 50 years. They do not deserve this. These are not just words to me, it's very personal, in the same way it's personal to millions in this country. There are over 6,000 foreign-born citizens of this city alone, and I'm sure it's just as personal to them and their loved ones. We will be watching in the coming months and years to see how you will protect us and our families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Finally, we have Harriet Hall.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. I'm Harriet Hall, and I live on Grandview Avenue in East Arvada. I'd like to speak on two issues this evening. The first, very briefly, is to commend the Arvada Police Department for the clear statement on its website of policies related to immigration. It clearly communicates the state law that limits municipal involvement with federal immigration authorities. Thank you, Arvada Police and Chief Brady. Second, I want to tell you about my cousin, who, as of today, could be 5 days away from homelessness due to losing the apartment that she can no longer afford due to rising rents. She lives in a different state, and rents there, like they are here, have become unaffordable. She has MS and depression, and has been unemployed for some time due to these disabilities. Last fall, my brother, who also lives in a different state from her, started to act kind of as an unofficial navigator for her, as it was clear she was headed towards homelessness. Although you would think her disabilities would mean she had ample support, they instead served as a barrier to her doing the frustrating and difficult work it took to get the help she needed. Several months of hard work on my brother's part, with some long-distance assistance from me, failed to change this situation. The latest snafu was when the Human Services staff member helping her went on maternity leave and failed to pass the responsibilities on to someone else. For those who are now concerned about her, hopefully and thankfully she will not be homeless. My brother has found an apartment for her in another part of her state where rents are more reasonable, and my siblings and I will cover rent until a housing voucher becomes available. My brother will continue his navigation assistance until she has all the benefits she is entitled to, which should allow her to live comfortably. But what if she did not have family with the resources to help her? Why am I telling this story? What do people in our community do if they don't have families to help or family with resources that enough to help? A navigation center with emergency shelter could have been an answer, and it is vital for our community. Please continue to work with our neighboring cities and counties, as well as everyone in the community, to make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers this evening that would like to speak on any topic not on the agenda? Yes, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
All right.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Simpson and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Katie Baum. I live at 4414 West 61st Place. I am also in the Arlington Meadows neighborhood. I'm incredibly proud of how all of my fellow neighbors have become incredibly involved and probably de facto subject matter experts on a various number of topics in rapid due order. Although I think tonight is not the direction that many in our community have maybe wanted us to take, I do want to take this time to applaud the city on the current contract services with Suburban Suites. I want to applaud the community for the Marshall Point Apartments and all of the work and coordination that has been done for that work. I know we also have Habitat for Humanity townhomes coming in Southwest. I used to work for Habitat for Humanity Metro Denver. It's near and dear to my heart. And the work that is continuing to being done on this topic. And with that, I also want to recognize and reemphasize the strength of community engagement when it is done effectively and robustly, and how it can set us up better long-term than when we do not do those things. I also want to welcome Community Food Table to our neighborhood that will also be going in down the street, that also took place via the land banking process. We're hoping to do a tour this spring, and we'll be sure to invite all of you guys when they open in May. We are incredibly, I think, committed to being a good neighbor with them and welcoming them to our community. I will end with just 2 points. As a former local and government employee, I want to kind of recognize what Councilmember Marriott mentioned, and please utilize and listen to your staff. I think the Denver metro area has wildly innovative and creative employees in local government up and down the Front Range. And I would just like to applaud them and recommend to listen to them to the best of our ability. And then I would also say a really, really good community to look towards that has done really good work on this is the city of Fort Collins. And they are actually moving forward with a navigation center in their downtown corridor. And they've done just really good work on how they go about approaching that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw another hand. Please come down.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kara Rowland. I live at 4795 West 63rd Avenue in Arlington Meadows. I am a resident of Arvada. I'm an architect. I'm married to an educator. And my most important job that I take the most amount of pride in is a mom of a 4- and a 5-year-old. I wanted to thank you all for your ear, first and foremost this evening and for the last few months. In my line of work, we tend to kind of our process is kind of divvied up in 3 phases. We have a discovery phase, an analysis phase, and then the physical planning phase in terms of how we approach our design and our thought. And I take a lot of pride in the discovery phase because that is purely just a listening activity. And I just wanted to kind of, for the record, say community engagement is essential in everything that we do as human beings. We all come from we're all cut from different cloths and come from different places, and we truly are better together. So I take a lot of pride in making sure that we're listening to one another. I'm going to lean on my community and my neighbors, my family and my faith, and want to be solution focused with any next steps that the city has to approach the issue that we're facing with the unhoused and immigrants and just the societal challenges that we as not only a community, a city, but a culture and a country are facing today. So thank you so much for your time and for passing the vote to kind of reconvene and look at the data a little closer for next steps.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please come forward.
Hi, good evening. My name is Renee Martinez. I live at 6265 Xavier Court in Arlington Meadows. I didn't plan to speak tonight, and I came in support of our community, and I wanted to thank the council for listening and for the decision that was made tonight. I know it's been a rough couple of months. I should say maybe 4 months. And I want to thank our community for all of the work that has been put into voicing and the research that has been done to help inform the council on our community thoughts and concerns. I remember standing here sharing with you, shaking about what I knew my grandchildren could face. And so I just wanted to end the evening by saying thank you for listening, and we'll continue to be a support for our community and would love to be involved in the next steps as we look at selling the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else in chambers like to speak? Please come forward.
I'd like to thank all you councilmen and mayor for all you've done for us and helped us through this. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And I do understand that there's need for homeless help and there's need for the immigrants. And I understand that. But I do think that in essence to that we've been blessed, and I thank you very much for it. And also, yes, I do believe they need help, and I hope there's some way, even like the gentleman said, I think that they need more, maybe mental help in a facility or something. Jail's going to do nothing for them, and they deserve a better life. But right now, I feel like in our community, we wouldn't be able to help them as much as per se you have helped us, and I just want to thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Quickly, can you share your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry, it's Dixie Geist, and I live at 4969 West 62nd Avenue in Arlington Meadows, and I went to Arvada grade school, junior high, high school, native, lived in my home for 40 years, and I just appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else in chambers like to speak at this time?
My name is Dr. Barbara Dre. I live at 6486 Ammons. Thank you so much for taking into consideration the community voice on the Navigation Center challenge. I will have to say that I'm struck by the wonderful coming together of the Arlington Meadows community, but I'm also struck by only acknowledging praise for listening versus also expressing concern that we still have a homeless crisis. And this is something that we have been working on for a very long time. In fact, I believe that it's since 2017 when a committee was assembled to work with the county. And there's been numerous reports that have been that have been published that document the homeless crisis and solutions. And the last decision that was made by this council was in conjunction with the county to commit to creating a navigation center in Arvada, the north end of Jeffco. Now there is one down off Colfax called Recovery Works, and I took the liberty to contact and talk with several community members. My daughter goes to school at 10th and Wadsworth, so I know families that live in that area, walking distance to Recovery Works. And every single one of those residents, has said there's been zero negative impact with recovery works coming in. They have not experienced property decrease. In fact, their properties continue to increase. As we know, we are in a bubble of real estate here in the Denver metro area because we need more housing. So they have seen actually property prices increase, which has also contributed to the homeless crisis. There also has not been an increase in crime. In fact, they feel safer because homeless folks have a place to go to get services. In addition, the only time they see encampments is when the Action Center is open, which is a few blocks west of Recovery Works, the night before they're due to distribute food and services to people who are experiencing low-income situations. So I'm not really sure why there is so much fear, but one of the things I would like to extend is that we must continue moving forward together and with expediency. We've done our homework, we've done the research. Now we need to determine an area and get community feedback so that we can move forward sooner than later, because property prices are only increasing. The homeless crisis continues to grow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to speak this evening? That's all right. Please take all the time you need. Would you like us to have a chair brought over?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Jerome Ortega. I live off of 64th and Sheridan. I would like to say thank you. It's not easy making decisions, and when this happened, I think I speak for most of our neighbors, our trust in city government was ruptured. Now, that trust does not come back with one vote. I am still fearful, and I do not completely trust city government. That is not to say that this is not a step in the right direction, but I appreciate it. There was a lot of things, mainly transparency, that was the issue. Communication and having a community a seat at the table. So I would like to thank you. I would like to thank everybody for listening, and I would like to thank everybody, all the city council members, for taking phone calls, for having meetings, for listening to your constituents, and I appreciate it. So for my family, for my community, thank you.
Would anyone else care to give comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of this evening's agenda, and I will open the consent agenda. We have five items on this evening's consent agenda, and they are R25-010, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Michael S. Matassa, appointing him as a municipal court relief judge for 2025. R25-011, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between City of Arvada and Charles W. Tingle, appointing him as municipal court relief judge for 2025. R25-012, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between City of Arvada and Barbara S. Hank, appointing her as municipal court relief judge for 2025. R25-013, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Michelle Weaver, appointing her as municipal court relief judge for 2025. R25-014, a resolution authorizing the First Amendment to a lease agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless. Councilmember Davis.
If there's no discussion, I'll make a motion.
Please.
Okay. I move that R25-101 through R25-014 be approved.
All right, all council will cast their votes. That passes 7-0. Next, we have two resolutions this evening. First, I will open R25-015, a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement between the City of Arvada by and on behalf of the Arvada Police Department and the Colorado Rangers Law Enforcement Shared Reserve. Mr. Jacks, I believe you have this item.
Good evening, Mayor Simpson, members of council. As council may be aware, occasionally the Arvada Police Department needs supplemental resources to respond to large special events or other circumstances that exceed its available staffing. The Colorado Rangers Law Enforcement Shared Reserve is an agency of the state of Colorado, which provides post-certified officers to Colorado agencies in these situations. Tonight, we're asking council to approve a mutual aid agreement, which follows the provisions of Colorado revised statutes pertaining to mutual aid agreements between agencies. This would allow the Rangers to come into Arvada at the request of Chief Brady to offer assistance to the Arvada Police Department for these special events. Would note that we contemplate specifically that the Rangers would only be assigned with another Arvada police officer as supplemental manpower, and they would report exclusively to Arvada PD supervisors during their time in the city. The city team is recommending that council approve this mutual aid agreement.
I'll open it to council questions or action. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
If there are any questions, I'll make a motion.
I see no other lights.
And of course, my battery's going dead, so forgive me. You might have to do it. Let me. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis.
Absolutely. I move that R25-015, a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement between the City of Arvada by and on behalf of the Arvada Police Department and the Colorado Rangers Law Enforcement Shared Reserve be approved.
All right. Council will cast their votes. And Councilmember Pfeiffer, you wish to speak?
Hey, anyone from the PD here? No. I just want to make a comment. I've known about the Colorado Rangers, and if you don't know about them, it's a pretty interesting background. I just want to give a shout out to the PD to think of just innovative ways to augment our police department during this time. The Colorado Rangers augment a lot of other police departments, including Denver, with volunteer police officers who do not get 1 cent to do what they're doing to protect communities that they help serve. And so I appreciate Arvada thinking outside the box and thinking of a new way to augment the staff. For the most part, we'll say zero cost to the city. There is some contributions to their program, but for the most part, I think it's another yet an innovative approach that PD did, and I just want to thank them for that.
All votes are cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have R25-016, a resolution authorizing the Fourth Amendment to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Arvada and the Urban Drainage and Flood Control District doing business as Mile High Flood District regarding final design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction of drainage and flood control improvements for Ralston Creek at Croak Canal. Ms. Melanie Walter, our floodplain administrator, has this item.
Good evening, Mayor Simpson and members of council. Council action is requested on this resolution. It's a fourth amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Urban Drainage and Flood Control District, doing business as Mile High Flood District, and the City of Arvada. This amended IGA will transfer funds held by Mile High Flood District that are no longer needed from the Lake Arbor Restoration Project to the Ralston Creek at Croak Canal project.
Councilmember Ambrose.
I'll make the motion unless our engineer would like to say something.
No, this is fabulous and exciting to me.
Okay, great. This is the most excited engineer I've heard in a while. I move that, actually I met Claudia tonight, so I should, sorry, she's more excitable than you. I move that R25-016, a resolution authorizing the Fourth Amendment to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Urban Drainage and Flood Control District from the Mile High DBA, doing business as Mile High Flood District, regarding final design, right-of-way acquisition and construction of drainage and flood control improvements for Ralston Creek at Croak Canal be approved.
It's okay, Sharon, you are our engineer. Thank you, Councilmember Davis. All right.
I am really excited about this and all things water, wastewater, infrastructure, so I think this is a great use of funds, so thank you so much.
Excellent. And that passes 7-0. We have 2 items for first reading tonight, so Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you. I move that CB 25-002, an ordinance amending Section 2-77 of Chapter 2 of the Arvada City Code pertaining to compensation for certain boards and commission members, and CB 25-004, an ordinance repealing and reenacting various sections of Chapter 70 personnel rules of the Arvada City Code be approved on first reading, ordered published in full, and a public hearing set for February 10th, 2025 at 6:15 p.m.
All right, that passes 7-0. Thank you. Next on this evening's agenda, we have our one hearing, that is CB 25-001, an ordinance repealing and reenacting Article 4 tax relief of Section 98 taxation of the Arvada City Code, ordinance number 4887. Our Finance Director, Mr. Archer, I believe you have this item to introduce.
I do. Actually, Ezekiel Vasquez, our revenue manager, is going to take the lead tonight.
Perfect. Mr. Vasquez.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Ezekiel. I'm the revenue manager. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about some changes that we're proposing to make to the tax relief program. The tax relief program is established in the ordinance, and it provides financial assistance to low-income, elderly, disabled, and head of household residents of Arvada. Qualifying residents receive rebates. The first rebate they receive is for the first eligible person in the household, and that is in the amount of $85. And then every other member of the household receives a $50 rebate. These amounts were established in 2010. And I included this graphic here just to help you guys understand the criteria a little bit more, because it is a little complicated for some folks, especially our applicants, when they come in. So the overarching criteria to be eligible for a rebate is to be a low-income resident of Arvada, and then you have to meet one of the following 3 criteria. In addition to being low-income, you either have to be elderly, disabled, or head of household. And if you meet those 2 criteria, then you're eligible to receive the $85 for the first person in your household and $50 for each additional person. Now, the purpose of this rebate is to offset sales taxes that residents pay when they purchase goods in Arvada. Now, over the last few years, my team and I have noticed that we've seen less and less people applying for rebates, and the overall number of rebates that we've paid out has gone down. So I did an analysis, and as you can see in this chart here, going back 10 years ago, we issued about 1,200 rebates for a total dollar amount of about $134,000. And you can see here that year after year, the rebate amounts, numbers in total as well as total dollar amount that we've paid out has gone down year over year. And last year was our lowest year, and that was a total of 850 rebates that we gave out for about $84,000. So my team and I, we've been thinking about ways to make this a little more impactful for the community, because the council that established this rebate tax relief program wanted it to be effective and to help people in the community. So we came up with a couple different
Quickly,
options.
Councilmember Russ. Okay.
So we came up with a couple different options, and the first option that I want to bring up is we are looking at simplifying the criteria to receive a rebate. So instead of having the 2-tiered criteria, we're proposing that applicants only have to meet the low-income criteria, and so obviously they'd have to be a rebate, or they'd have to be a resident of Arvada and be in the low-income bracket, and then they would qualify. The second option that we're asking for you guys to consider is to raise the rebate amount. So for the first person in the household, we're asking that you consider raising the rebate amount from $85 to $100, and for every additional member of the household going from $50 to $65. And that is because of inflation, and it doesn't quite offset inflation, but it helps a little bit with inflation over the last 14 years. But those are the two items that we're asking you to consider, and we do think if we're able to make those changes, it would definitely help us serve more people in the community.
Yeah, so my question, thank you for your presentation, first of all, appreciate that. My question is that in looking in the background here on the financial impact, the amount of increase for this $15 for first person and $65 per dependent, and the changes of who would qualify for the rebate has already been approved for the budget? Like this actually has no budget impact because we already passed this amount increase?
Councilmember Ambrose, so we have a budgeted amount for this program, and it's about $147,000, I believe. And the approach that we're hoping to take is if you do approve these changes, then this rebate program would be a first come, first served basis. So once we exhaust that amount that we've budgeted, then we would, stop taking in new rebate applications.
And how many people have actually applied for the rebate and gotten it? Like, have you spent down that $147,000 every year, or is it like only 50% of the funds are getting used?
Yeah, great question. So, over the last 10 years, those amounts have been going down year over year. So, for example, last year, we budgeted, it was slightly less, it was about $135,000 we budgeted, and we only paid out $83,000.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Great. I am in support of both changes, I think especially with the things that we have been passing here on council and the increase of water rates.
Quickly, can we
should
save
do
comments
this.
for when we have a motion on the table?
Okay.
Thank you. Before I open it to council, additional questions, is there any public comment on this item? Ms. Dre.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and the clarity with the questions. I just want to urge the council in these dire times when we see homeless increasing due to income and ability to pay rent, that $165 could be the difference between having food on the table or not. So I would just urge you to please support this measure, especially since it's not going to take any additional dollars from your budget. And in fact, it's projected to maybe not even cap out the 147. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there additional members of the public who would like to comment on this particular hearing item? Seeing none, I will open it for any additional council questions or action. We need a motion. There we go. Councilmember Ambrose.
Okay, I would like to make the motion that I move that CB 25-001, an ordinance repealing and reenacting Article 4, tax relief of Section 98, taxation of the Arvada City Code, be approved on final reading numbered 4,887 and ordered published by title only.
All right. Before I show the votes, I just want to commend the city team for following the data, seeing how this fund was being used, and when you saw that it was going down and that it wasn't being as well utilized as it probably should be, especially as we are in a cost of living crisis. I really want to applaud you, Mr. Archer, and you and your entire team for digging into this and figuring it out and bringing us a recommendation that will help people while also staying within our budget. So great job. I'm in enthusiastic support. And that passes 7-0. Well done.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your support on this. We're really looking forward to seeing how many individuals will be eligible for this and apply in the future, and we'll certainly report back to you.
Excellent. I will now open the second public comment portion of this evening's agenda. This is the 5-minute limit. Ms. Dre, I believe you have signed up for the 5-minute limit as well. Yes. Come on down.
I saw someone else stand up and I thought, oh. Okay, friends, so good to be here again to talk to you. I just really am, again, struck. This is Dr. Barbara Dre. I live at 6486 Ammons. You know, I have come up here numerous times to talk to you about the homeless crisis in Arvada. And I want to just say that unlike the Arlington Meadows community, I'm actually super disappointed that this is the end result. And I recognize that many of you on council feel that we need to make sure that we do our due diligence with community engagement. I wholeheartedly agree. But unlike what has been discussed with other measures where it took a few years of public discussion and negotiation, I sincerely hope that that's not what's going to happen in this situation, that we can move forward much quicker since we already have research on the table, recommended plans on the table, that truly in the next 2 to 3 months, by March, I would love to see that community engagement already have happened so that we can move forward. I know the challenge before us right now is finding a building, but I just want to tell you, you know, early college was zoned and ready to go to be able to do what we wanted it to do in terms of a navigation center. It was near 2 main public transit hubs, number 1 being RTD bus on Sheridan, and number 2 being the light rail at the Gold Strike. Equally, it's in close proximity to the food bank, which we know, both anecdotally and through research, many of our unhoused access those food banks as a critical source of nourishment. So I would just like to say that when you go to choose your next location, that you consider not just the community, but the services available within the community's reach. Because another piece that we're missing out on is due to the location in Adams County, we could have shared resources. They have a health department in Adams County that could provide mental health and drug addiction services. We don't have a jail here in Arvada. They go to county jail. And what does the county jail do? They turn them back and they let them go with 0 services. That's a problem. So let's be strategic in how we move forward and in the building choice, not just in how we engage in the community, but also in how we leverage existing resources and funds available. Our city employees are doing an amazing job at doing research and working with the counties to help us make good choices on how to move forward. And I really hope that you take that into consideration, as well as when you host meetings, that you begin with education, the historical legacy, the reports, the demographics, so that people are compelled to want to support this initiative and not just feel like they've been railroaded and forced into having something in their neighborhood that they struggle with. You know, much of the rhetoric from this debate has been disinformation and fear, racism, and all kinds of deficit thinking around the homeless population. I have family members who have been homeless. I have friends who have chosen to be chronically homeless for a political statement. Not every homeless individual has a mental health problem. Most homeless folks can't deal with the bureaucracy of what you and I just normalize. So I'm just urging you to really get out into the community, the homeless community as well. Humanize. Talk to them. Ask them what they need, as well as the community that might be affected by having a navigation center located in their neighborhood. Thank you so much for all of the good work that you do, and for those of you who are really working diligently toward a solution. I appreciate it, and I look forward to continuing to collaborate.
Thank you very much. there anyone else in chambers who would like to give public comment at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of this evening's agenda. I will open up to City Council for council committee reports. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have an announcement about my monthly coffee chat. It's this Friday, January 31st. We are changing the location this time, so we will be meeting at the bridge at 8270 West 80th Avenue, and we'll be taking a tour there, learning about the services and programs, and also learning about the Beyond Home project for 24 townhomes with transitional housing. So that'll be 2 to 4 this Friday at the bridge.
Thank you. Councilmember Marriott, you were next.
I just wanted to mention and recognize the recent retirement and the ending of her term on the Board of County Commissioners of my good friend and colleague Tracy Kraft Tharp. So Tracy and I have become great friends over the last dozen years. We have worked together on a number of things, most notably sales tax simplification down at the state when she was in the legislature, and airport issues at Rocky Mountain Metro Airport more recently as she's been a county commissioner. And I've always found Tracy to be one of the really best. She's always looked out for her constituents in the community and tried to find the best solutions, and I'm really going to miss her in this role. I will still always have her as a friend, and I always look forward to any and every time I get to see her, and really want to congratulate her on her career in public service, which hasn't just been elected office, but other public service as well. And I really appreciate all she's done for the community, and I particularly appreciate all the kindness that she's shown me over the years, and wish her well in her retirement.
Thank you. Councilmember Ambrose, you're next.
Yes, I would like to say that, much like Councilmember Mormon, I am going to have public office hours on a monthly basis on the fourth Fridays from noon to 3 at Heaven in Old Town Arvada. So if members of the public would like to meet with me, please feel free to email me to set up a time so I know that you're coming, but otherwise I'll just be available.
Wonderful. And for those unfamiliar with Heaven, that is the new ice cream place in Grandview Station. Councilmember Davis.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to report that Councilmember Mormon and I will be involved in participating in the point-in-time count tomorrow for the unhoused. We will be in Old Town in the Old Town Square, and really looking forward to hearing answers to some of those questions that Dr. Dre asked. So we are engaged and are listening. Just want to let the public know that.
Thank you. I second Councilmember Marriott's recognition of former state representative and former Commissioner Kraft Tharp's retirement. Tracy is truly one of the best. She has always been there for myself, as well as I believe probably all of us at some point, and her legacy of public service commitment and the things she managed to accomplish for the community, they made a difference. She made a difference. And so I'm very proud of her, and I wish her all the best in whatever comes next for her. In addition, I want to note a couple of things. I recently, 2 weeks ago, attended the United States Conference of Mayors in Washington, D.C. It was an incredibly useful trip, particularly as we have an administration change at the federal level. And so just hearing some of those new priorities, things for us to be looking forward to here as the city so that we can continue to drive action on our own priorities here at home, I felt was really useful. And I look forward to sharing some of those lessons with our city leadership team for their knowledge as they put all these plans into action. And otherwise, I just want to thank the community for their robust engagement. You know, we do get through these things together, and we plan to stay engaged. We do continue to listen always. And even though folks maybe don't always stick around to the very end, I know a lot watch at home, so just thank you for coming out and staying with us. With that, Ms. Haley?
Thank you, City Council. Next Monday is the first Monday of February already, so we have a business meeting. And I wanted to let you know that within the business meeting, we will have a workshop. We're going to discuss the community survey results with you then. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Morris?
Thank you. So we will have a continuation of our executive session upstairs, so I just wanted to make sure that I put the justification back in the record, if you're okay with that, Your Honor.
Absolutely.
So our justification is legal advice pursuant to CRS 246402-4B, so that
the council can receive legal advice on executive session confidentiality and public statement protocol.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we stand adjourned. Council will reconvene upstairs for executive session.